Welcome back to another episode of Singapore's Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the J&E Investments team. And today we have another new launch review, and we'll be talking about
Nava Grove,
aka also known as
beautiful woods. Because fun fact, Nava in Hebrew means beautiful or pleasant. So that's why they add in grove. It's like it means woods.
Beautiful Grove.
Beautiful grove, yeah. So that's something we're actually looking at this season for here in Pine Tree Hill area, right next to Ulu Pandan Road. Okay, so the last that new launch that launched over there was Pine Tree Hill, currently it's close to 72% sold. And today we're going to look at this upcoming Parcel B. We have been awaiting for almost 1+ years, okay, to see how it fare. Okay, but before we start, some customary introduction, I'd like to thank our clients. We're over close to 547 investment clients up to date. And because of clients like yourself who are supporting us, we have been constantly fetching decent returns, about 19.56% per annum based on equity return after netting off cost. Okay, and also Google review 133 is climbing every single week.
Yes,
and we have almost 2,000 plus sold with 80% record PSF and over 500 investment clients that have served. We'd like to thank all of you here that have been supporting the channel up to date.
And if you want to find out how we sell homes at record pricing, do check out another of our series, also called the Locked It series. I think they'll put a link over here, so you can go and check it out.
All right, without much further ado, let's jump straight into this project. Nava Grove itself is by MCL Land, okay, a Hong Kong land company, Hong Kong developer. And in short, it has 25,000 square meter of land, 99 years. And with this big plot of land, they only built 552 units, which actually quite low density. And this is a characteristic of Pine Grove area where people prefer to have nice landscaping, big units, which you can see later on, and also at the same time, low density units. Okay, TOP date expected will be 2028 and number of blocks will be 3 blocks. Okay, so in terms of location wise, you can see it's actually right in the heart of Pine Grove area. Okay, right next to Pine Tree Hill, which was Parcel Land A. Okay, and this is the first plot within this area that is under area harmonisation. So that's something that we can do a comparative later on to see what exactly is the difference.
Correct. So, I mean, this is the third plot, right? First plot was Lentor Mansion. Second plot was Norwood Grand, which was pretty crazy over the last weekend where they had 300 over units but collected over 900 plus checks. And they did very, very well on launch day also.
84% sold.
So you're realizing that actually after area harmonisation, right, all the developments are doing very well because of a quantum play advantage that we are seeing that. After taking off the aircon latch, suddenly the quantum becomes very acceptable.
Yes, correct. And one thing that developer do it by making it acceptable, price lower, people find it's actually cheap. And they no longer look at just pure PSF, but rather looking at what exactly is the price to determine whether to enter or not. So I think developer also, because it's the first few projects, they will also be a little more, like testing the market to see how it reacts. So price will be a little more sensitive.
Yes.
So that's something we can stay tuned later on. Okay. And in terms of the land bid, okay, because it's something that's new, area harmonization, land bid wise, they tend to be a little more conservative with something brand new. And in fact, UL was the one that bidded Pine Tree Hill. Okay, so it was in second in place to MCL. MCL came in first and bid about 23.8% higher than the second bid.
A bit higher than we would like to, because you don't want developer to overbid also and then pass on the cost to the consumer side.
Yes, indeed. And perhaps why UL bidded lower, 98 per square feet? Because back then, if you know, November 2023, okay, UL sold only about 30% units for Pine Tree Hill. So they will say, it wasn't doing at 50, 60, 70. Yeah. So when they came into this second land bid, yes, they want to try. So they just, they just try a bit to see how things goes. But we have MCL and Hong Kong Land who actually came in to be more aggressive to actually get this bid. So of course, at the end of the day, the land bid that you can see, it's not really too far off from the Parcel A. It's something that is still at market price. Okay, and in fact, it's slightly lower because of area harmonization as compared to Parcel A.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next one is a big question of what is the schools that's within 1 kilometer, right? And everybody's looking at Henry Park. So I think at this point, it's not confirmed yet that all the blocks are going to be within 1 kilometer. So if that is something that you're looking at, right, at this time, developer haven't really confirmed. But I think there will be some specific stacks of blocks that will be within the 1 kilometer. So I think this is one main difference as compared to Pine Tree Hill also. Because Pine Tree Hill, they're all under the 1 km to Henry Park.
Yes.
Of course, you then have Pei Tong. Pei Tong will be 1 km. So that will be the primary school that, if you need the address, this is something that's confirmed.
Yes, indeed. And the units mix, if you look into it, About 41% are the 2-bedroom and 2-bedroom plus study and 2-bedroom premium. Okay, most these are catered maybe for small families or investors. There's no 1-bedder at all. So especially area harmonized, something we notice is very interesting is that they will stop like getting more 1-bedder. They will get something that's more compact for 2-bedder. And then you can see later on the 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom will tend to be bigger to average out the size.
I think in this area it's more on own stay, not so much on investing or rental because you don't have MRT. So people that want connectivity will definitely not be people that will look into this area itself.
And this area is very unique to people who just want a place that is near good school, quiet,
low density.
Low density, yeah. So this is where we see this group of people come in. And that was side map wise, you can see only 3 blocks, very nicely done up with a pool, which is not the regular shaped pool. So quite resort style with a tennis court that's located right here. So out of these 3 blocks, one of the block will be closer to the main Ulu Pandan Road, with the other 2 further away. And very similar, which they do it very similar to that of Pine Tree Hill, they did this way. Okay, in terms of facility, density wise, it's actually pretty low. And that's something that you can stay tuned to the various amenities they have in this development.
Yeah. So one difference between this one and Pine Tree is also that this one at the side gate, right, is actually fully sheltered. You can go out to Ulu Pandan Road, then there's a bus stop and you can cross the overhead bridge to the other side also, as compared to Pine Tree where there will be one path that is not fully covered.
Yes, indeed. All right. So most importantly, we always look back into the entry price. Is this development cheap? And although it's bidded slightly lower, will it come out cheap? So that's something we'll analyze right here. Okay. So when it comes to break even, okay, people say, hey, it's actually lower than parcel A. So we really launch at a price that is decent, and that people have been asking us, clients have been asking us, so that's why I came on this video. So this is 2120 per square feet. Okay, but the key thing to note is that it's actually area harmonization. So for before area harmonization, the developer can get the aircon latch, okay, for free, very low cost, and they sell it to the consumers. But right now, because they cannot earn from this aircon latch, it takes out usually about 7% of development. This profit margin will have to be factored into the sale price. Okay, which that's why for break-even price, nowadays for area harmonized, we add a 7 to 8.2%. And at a 7% increase, the break-even is at about 2,268 per square feet. Okay, and one thing to note is, besides looking at break-even, some developer bank it against the current land bids that is already bidded, or the launches that already came out. And from there, later on you can see that's how we actually get a 10 to 15% profit margin kind of prices at 2495, 25 to 26. So that's something we'll use it to compare all the layouts later on.
Yeah. So a unique development I think we can take a look at is Momentum Park, which is rather close by. It's something that if you drive, it's pretty convenient because it's an RCR, but if you don't, there is no connectivity to MRT. And for Momentum Park, there is 0 primary schools within the 1 kilometer range. But what we realized is Momentum Park, if you look at the profits, right, they did pretty well with the 3-4 bedders all making about 500,000. So why, despite the lack in amenities, connectivity, they still saw very healthy profits? Going back to the factor of entry price, right, you'll notice that if you just look at the new launches in 2021, the average in RCR was about 2,001. But when Momentum launched, they were at close to about 1,008. So even though they don't have any connectivity or schools, right, you realize that when your entry price is right, you'll still attract a crowd. And for people that look at Momentum or example Pine Grove area, right, they will not be people that look out for MRT. So it will not be a deal breaker for them because there are people that want a lower density, quieter environment, but they're okay with slightly more inconvenience in terms of getting to the MRT or transport.
True, and it's really getting the cheapest in the entire Singapore at a point of time. I think people are more price sensitive rather than like relocation sensitive.
Yeah. So you can look at the quantum similarly back in 2021. If you look at just the new launches alone, there are 2 bedders in RCR was about 1.5, when Momentum was selling about 1.2. 3 bedders in RCR is about 2 million and Momentum was about 1.7. So you see that people are more price sensitive. That's why even for Norwood, people say, who is going to be staying in that area? Yes. But when the pricing is right, even with 300 plus units, you see actually 900 plus people are fighting for the units. Because at that quantum of 1.7, 1.8, it's impossible to get a 3 billion in Singapore already.
Yes, for the new launch market. Yeah.
Okay, so how does Nava Grove then compare to today's RCR new launch price? I think if you take the RCR 99 years, 2024 average is about 2,574. So I think they happen to launch under this, right? I think it's something that's very fair, taking into account that most of this is actually non-area, actually I would say all of it is non-area harmonized.
Yes, correct. So only two projects, Lentor Mansion and Nava Grove is.
Which is OCR.
Yeah, OCR. Yeah. So right now in RCR area, all of them are almost non-area harmonized. So with this, let's take a look at the new launch comparison between Nava Grove and the competitor, which is Pine Tree Hill. By looking at Pine Tree Hill, how it performed, we can be able to benchmark based on the range of price that may appear for Nava Grove. How does it compare with Pine Tree Hill? So Pine Tree Hill is 72.5% sold up to date. Okay, big development. 520 units, very similar, and 99 years. Okay, so in terms of the site map, okay, there's one thing that's very similar.
Quite similar, actually.
Quite similar. Yeah, it's 3 blocks.
Yeah.
Similar 3 blocks. One tennis court.
Even the way the blocks are being positioned, it's quite similar also.
Yes, indeed. So usually you have 2 that's further away from the Ulu Pandan and 1 that's nearer. And this have I would say regular pool. This is more resort style. Okay, so I would say it's actually quite comparative in terms of the site map, and most are north-south facing. Okay, almost all are north-south facing, direct north-south facing. Okay, and the key thing is, over here we notice is that break-even wise, okay, if you notice for Pine Grove, parcel A is about 2248, but that doesn't have area harmonization, so that will be similar at 10% profit margin is about 2473. Nava Grove has a 7% additional price in because of the area harmonization at 2268. So actually quite similar. If they launch at about 10% profit margin, about 2005, 15% profit margin at 26, it could be something they may be aiming for because they see that, hey, Pine Tree Hill is already 72% sold. So I feel like, okay, the market can still accept this kind of pricing in today's prices. So they are willing to even go up higher. So that's something that we may be seeing in Nava Grove itself. Okay. And in terms of the latest update of the Pine Tree Hill prices, you can see on average, you can see at about 2526 for some. Only for the bigger bedrooms that is a lower floor, you see about 23. Okay, but most of this could be towards the Ulu Pandan road facing side. Okay, that's why you get this kind of prices. But most of them are already hovering about 24 to 25. Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at how the layouts actually differ. We'll go through the 2, 3 as well as 4. And if you do need more analysis on the 2+ study or whether it's the 5 beta, then feel free to contact us and we'll go in details with you also. So comparing the layout for Pine Tree Hill as well as Nava Grove, you'll see that their 2-bed, 2-bath is about 764 and then Nava Grove is about 700. So I think they are quite similar with both the kitchen being enclosable. But then, of course, you don't have a window for that. Then both are dumbbell layout also. So no wasted space in terms of the corridor. Quantum-wise, for Pine Tree Hill is about 1.7 for being the lowest to about 2 million. And then for Nava Grove, it's going to be between 1.75 to 1.85 if they're going to be launching about 2005 to 2006.
And one thing to take note is before area harmonized, they also, if you had to prorate the PSI because it doesn't include the aircon latch, you'll get about 2.3 to 2.4 potentially, which I think is quite comparative. I think the 1.85 I would say is average. It could be even higher. So it's something we will stay tuned to see how it goes for the launch prices.
Yep. And then for 3 beta, you'll see their 969 at Pine Tree Hill. It's about 2.177 all the way up to 2.585 today. And then for the Nava Grove, it's about 947 and 990, meaning 2 different layouts. It's going to range from about 2.3 to 2.6. They do launch it at 2004 all the way to 2650. Difference you will see between both is that Pine Tree Hill, your kitchen have a window, your toilets also have window. But for Nava Grove side, the 947 one, kitchen don't have window. And then your toilets both also don't have window.
Yep. And it's quite interesting. For the 947 square feet, it's a dumbbell layout. As what Grace mentioned, does not have a window. It's very similar to Nova Grove, where you notice that those that does not have like windows, they are all dumbbell layout.
Yeah.
Okay. And those that bad facing, not so good facing, they have windows.
So it's the pros and cons. They obviously you cannot have best of both worlds. You want this one, you take one thing bad about it. Or if you want something good, then there's always the pros and cons.
Yeah, so people end up they have to take it and the units just move accordingly. They hit 84%. So it seems to work. And we're looking at about 2.3 to 2.6 million. And before area harmonized, if you were to prorate and include the aircon latch, you get maybe about 2242 per square feet to 2471 per square feet. Okay, but quantum wise, actually, I would say quite comparable to Pine Tree Hill or even higher.
Okay, so let's look at the 3-bedroom premium. 3-bedroom for premium for Pine Tree is about 1216 square feet. Lowest being about 2.8 and highest going up to 3.186. And then for Nava Grove, it's 1109. Estimated is going to be about 26 to about 29, depending on the per square feet that they actually launch at. So one thing you'll note, right, is that even though overall square feet becomes smaller, for after area harmonization, right, your room size becomes a little bit more spacious because in the past, before area harmonization, for your floor to ceiling windows, right, there is always like a column at the side to support. So you can see the floor plan, there is this like white color small ledge, so you can't really flush your bed all the way to the side. But after area harmonization, you realize that this column becomes smaller.
Yes, because of this thing called a curtain wall. They used to have this particular platform that may into certain usable space, but right now, area harmonized, they don't allow developers to sell this curtain wall space again.
Yeah, so I think the quantum for the 3-bedroom premium is pretty attractive over here. If let's say someone doesn't need a study and they don't have the budget of like 2.8 to 3.1, you know, if let's say developers somehow launch it between a 2.6 to 2.7, this is an alternative that they can have.
Yes. The last one is let's look at the 4-bedder. 4-bedroom wise, you can see Pine Tree Hill is a 4-bed, 4-bath at about 3.2 to 3.4 million transacted with a private lift, okay, and 1292 square feet. Decent layout, okay, decent living area with enclosed kitchen and also a storeroom at the back with a back door. Okay. On the other hand, if you were to zoom in into the new Nava Grove layout, the 1335 square feet is much bigger, okay, but it doesn't have a private lift, interestingly, and a big living area with a bigger bedroom size for each of the bedrooms, okay, along with a wet kitchen and a dry kitchen. So very similar, I would say a little bit like your Lentor Mansion kind of layout where you have a wet and dry kitchen and a lot of them put into the bedrooms. So this itself, right, the quantum wise will start at 3.2, but it doesn't include a private lift. Okay. And if you want to have a private lift, they will go up to the 1550 square feet, which is much bigger and starting from 3.7. So in this case, a 4-bedder, you can see it does put Pine Tree Hill suddenly in a better light. And something that quantum-wise actually may be something that allow it to snap up along the way, which is why some of the units will snap up over the weekends. But the key thing over here is, of course, analyze, is it entering the right entry price when compare layout to layout?
Yeah, so moving on to resale, I think for this area itself, the resale comparison, it's not a very good comparative because a lot of them are either freehold or they are very, very old. And because of them being old, right, a lot of the floor plates are very, very big.
Yes,
so it's very hard to compare to say, you know, someone that likes brand new but is able to accept something more compact. Very different group of buyers that we're looking at also.
Yes, indeed. And when you look into the surrounding resale, we rank from number 1 to number 16 based on the TOP date. And realize that the newest ones is Trizon, Quintera, and Montview. And out of these three, they're all, I would say, mid-sized or even small boutique development. So the closest we can ever find a comparative in the area is about 289 units, a Trizon, but it's freehold, 2012. So we need to pro the freehold premium later on when it comes to evaluating Nava Grove. And then we have another 2 development, which is Quintera and Montview. It's about 55 units and 115 small boutique development. But you notice that quantum-wise, they're actually playing at a much larger quantum. So that's something that does put Nava Grove in a very unique position to compare.
So definitely, if you're to look at the per square feet, there's going to be a certain gap in this area because of how old the resale properties are. But the next thing we notice is that people are a little bit more sensitive towards a quantum first rather than the per square feet in the market already, because my per square feet can be very low, but if my floor plate is very big, if it doesn't fit within the budget, it doesn't fit. So quantum then becomes like the primary concern first. And you know, if it's something that fits within my budget, then the per square feet then comes into secondary. So when we compare the surrounding resale quantum, you realize that because of the size of the units, 2-bedders, all the resale are about 1.84 million. 3-bedder is about 2.74 average, and 4-bedders are at 3.53. So we took out all the new launches, right? And this is just based purely on like the subsale and the resales in this area.
And one thing also, people start comparing quantum is because they look at efficiency of space. In the older resale, you have big balcony space, some have bay window, some have very big aircon latch, and that's when all these things are factored in, and people find that, hey, if I can get something brand new at the same efficiency of usage, this does drive the prices and also drive the demand when it comes to TOP.
Correct. So example, if you were able to get like a 3-bedder, for example, at maybe 2.4 million, when you know that the average 3-bedders in the resale is going about 2.74, it gives an indication that, you know, people are willing to pay like 2.74 for a 3-bedder here. Yes, bigger, but they are also older. So
Yes,
you're attracting two very different groups of buyers in a way that I don't think they are competitions lah.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so let's take a look at the first resale project. It's called the Trizon. Okay, it's a freehold. Okay, look, 289 units. Okay, not a very, very big development, but the interesting is land size is 18,000 square meter. Okay, it's a big landscape, but low density. Okay, and one thing to take note is the price has been really stagnating for a very long time until 2022, when you have your first land bid that was bidded, and then it's punched lifted up the entire price. And right now it's hovering at close to 2001 to up to even 2002 per square feet. So looking at the last few transactions, okay, June 2024, the last transaction is 1012 square feet at 2.22 million for a 2-bedder, and the bigger bedroom, which is a 3-bedder, 1894 square feet, has hit close to 4.2 million. So let's take a look to compare with Nava Grove. How does this fare? And 2-bedder, you can see 1044 square feet, layout type, huge living, big balcony, big bedroom, and there's a bay window for each of the bedroom and along with the bathroom. So if now really all the extras, maybe you get about 900 square feet for a 2-bedder still. But in short, you can see for this, the 2-bedder for freehold unit is 2.27 million.
Yep.
Yeah, and net all the freehold, maybe you go down 99, it's maybe about 2 plus million to compare with your Nava Grove. On the other hand, you see Nava Grove, the quantum is 1.75 to 1.85 million. Nicely done out for dumbbell layout. Okay, and as compared to Trizon is almost close to, I would say, 16 years older, okay, as compared to your Nava Grove. And this does put Nava Grove in a very interesting comparative, because although yes, it's smaller in size, but in terms of efficiency-wise, I would say comparable. And quantum-wise, if people will pay 2.27 million in the area, something older, the fact that after 3 years down the road, you want to exit about 2.1, 2.05 is something that people should be able to accept. Okay, and also when compared to the 3-bedder, things get more interesting. You can see for Trizon, the demand for this kind of big floor plate is high. You see 3-bedder for freehold hitting close to 3.96 million. And look at supply over here. If you really go and take a look at Trizon, not many are selling. A lot are asking more, about 4 right now. And this last transacted is actually in November 2023 last year. Okay, compared to the 3-bedroom compact, okay, over here, about 2.272 to 2.5, 2.3, 2.6 is really way below this quantum. But one thing to take note is, if you want to compare, we will actually more likely compare towards the premium units, which are about 2.6 to 2.9, which is still about $1 million less for just a freehold premium. And the rationale why people are willing to buy such a big floor plate at a higher price is because in this area, honestly, there's not many supply to some extent. For big floor plates, 3-bedder in the area, people cannot wait for new launch sometimes, and they want a school settle down. Yeah, within maybe 1 km from Henry Park. These are things that they do consider, and that's why they're willing to pay these prices for something that is a resale market, even though it's 16 years old. Okay. And last but not least, let's take a look at the 4-bedder. Trizon itself, 4-bed, 4-bath is huge.
4.85 million.
4.85 million. Crazy. 2,000 per square feet. Just transacted this year in March. Okay. That doesn't have a private lift. Okay. It's just a normal bedroom. Okay, but have this single bay window.
And
1, 2, 3.
a big balcony that's almost the same size as your living and dining.
Yes. So I would say if you talk effective area, maybe close to 1,006, 1,008 square feet. But if you talk about comparing to the 99-year Nava Grove, if you talk about something that doesn't have any lift, which is very similar to Trizon, 3.2, that suddenly became very attractive. And if you talk 3.7 with a private lift, people can still say, okay, I still have about 1 plus million, and that's why they price it that way to see that, hey, how will the market respond to this? But likelihood, this kind of bigger plate units, based on our prediction, doesn't move as fast. Okay, usually it will be closer to TOP. That's when you can see more of this unit being snapped up because of the profile of people buying 4-bedder. They want something that's ready-made, own stay, and moving condition. Okay.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one, Montview. So Montview, it's also another freehold development, TOP in 2008. So the differences in the age with this and Nava Grove is going to be about 20 years. But of course, this is a smaller development, so it's not as comparative as, let's say, Nava Grove, that's about 500 plus units.
Yes.
Take a look at the per square feet. They're also about 2,000, hitting close to even 2,002 for the transaction in April this year. And if you look at their quantum-wise, their 2+ study, it's about 2.5 million. So similar characteristics is that you'll notice all the bay windows all around. Again, big balcony, with the planter around. So their layout, I would say, is not the most effective because last time, developers can charge for bay windows and that's why they do it all over the house. So again, it puts the quantum at Nava Grove very attractive. Moving on to the 3-bed, 3-bath at Montview, you'll see that it's about 3.3 million, 1,507 square feet. Similarly, you get your bay windows, you get your planter, compared to our 3-bedroom premium at Nava Grove, which is about 2.6 to 2.9, depending on the per square feet that the developer will be launching at. And then moving on to your 4-bedder, 1,744, lower as compared to the previous development we talked about 3.55 million. In this way, the quantum becomes very similar for Montview versus Nava Grove. 20 years difference, yes, one freehold, 199. But if people are not going to be holding Nava Grove for, let's say, 20 years, they're just there to stay for a couple of years, usually the tenure doesn't really matter a lot.
Yes, and one thing to note is that Nava Grove, for some, even have the private leaf. Okay, similar to that of your Montview. And one is a small development, very little, 100+ units. One is, I would say, a big development with better landscaping. So it's something that does put Nava Grove in a more competitive edge.
Correct, because if you go and see Montview rooms, right, because they put in the beds also, so you have a representative of how big the room is. You look at like bedroom 2 or bedroom 4, I think they are pretty similar size to the Nava Grove one, if not maybe slightly smaller because it's a single bed as compared to a queen size bed.
And there's a bay window also that takes up extra space. So utility could be almost similar to your Nava Grove units. Okay. Then last but not least, we have the last candidate, Quintera. This is the closest we can find on 99 year, something that's newer, but it's a small boutique development, 55 units. Okay, so very small. But what we notice is that in terms of the price, it has been stagnating, go up a little bit. And the key thing that we notice is about the quantum. The rooms are huge. The bedrooms are huge. So we can see 1,679 square feet recently in July 2024, transacted at 2.768 million. And then we can see something at 787 square feet. It's a bigger 4-bedder, transacted at 3+ million. So you can put this side by side, okay? Even the large transacted, which is almost 2 years ago, not many supply with small development. 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,184 square feet. They really hit a 99, 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you can see they have big balcony, planter, and in short,
okay, at least no bay
aircon latch.
windows.
Yeah, no bay window.
Have in the toilet.
Yeah, in the toilet, yes. So in this case, what we noticed, main effective area will be close to about 900 square feet, but take note, this is a small development with a home shelter. So when compared to this, I would say this study room may perhaps double as a home shelter. Okay. Kitchen enclosed, okay, without window, but quantum play it suddenly became, I would say, quite comparable. On the other hand, for Nava Grove, 786 square feet, the layout type, dumbbell layout, more efficient. Study area can in fact be doubled up like your home shelter with Quintera. And Quintera is 19 years old, okay, older than that of your Nava Grove. So this does put this quantum at 1.9 to 2 million to be something that is very comparable. And it's something that what Nava Grove is trying to do is to play a quantum play for something brand new for bigger development. And next, Quintera, we have the 3-bedder. Things get even more interesting. We see that the 3-bed, 3-bath with planter, bay window, balcony in the master bed, balcony in the living area. Okay, the price has hit 2.768 million for a boutique development, 55 units as 20 years old. On the other hand, we see a 3-bedroom premium going at about the same price, 2.6, 2.9. So this does give Nava Grove another competitive edge when it comes to the 3-bedder. Last but not least, we have the 4-bedder at Quintera. Quantum already hit $3 million with big balcony in the living area, balcony in the master, and bay window in all the rooms along with the toilet. It hit about 3 million. And it was last year, July 2023. In Nava Grove, what we see is 1335, more efficient layout, something newer, that's 19-year-old newer, 3.2 million for a bigger development. So this does once again put Nava Grove as a competitive edge as compared to your Quintera. And if you want to top out a little bit more, 1550, they do have a comparative to Quintera, but you get a private lease at about $3.7 million.
Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is who are then your potential upgraders and downgraders in this area. So you know that beside Dover MRT, there's actually this plot where last time it was a forest and they cleared it out, then there's going to be about 3,000 BTO flats that's coming up. But honestly, this would not be something of short short-term effect because for them, they're under the prime housing. So they would have to stay or fulfill the MOP of 10 years before they can even sell the unit. But to note, beside that, in Ghim Moh area, their 4-room flats has hit about even up to 1.2 million. So why we look at the HDBs around this area? Because if they were to upgrade, you also want to know that, when they exit, they have the capability to free up funds to then pay for like a private in this area also.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and around this area, besides the HDBs, what you have is a whole area of landed. This is also where all your prime GCBs are. So for this area of landed owners, if they were to downgrade, they will want to stay around the same area. These are also potential future buyers also.
Yes. All right. And the last one is to always look at what exactly is a future land bid, because this will set a new benchmark of what is the price we're looking into in this area. So 2 plots that's very interesting in this area that just came out, okay. In fact, one of them is already concluded for Holland Drive area, okay. Right next to your Holland Village MRT, we have this plot that concluded at $805 million as a standard price. Okay, when awarded this pricing, we actually gain about close to about 2.8 to 2.9 per square feet for launch prices. Prices wise, we have to simulate subsequently, but in terms of the land plot, it's about 58,000 square meter, big land plot. Okay, other than that, we have another one that is upcoming, even deeper into the Holland Link area. Okay, right smack in, very deep in, not in the MRT, very similar in the Pine Grove that's coming up. 240 units, okay, concluding this year in December 2024. Okay, so why is it important to understand this? Is because these are the future land bids that we need to hedge against, and depending on how they fare, we're able to benchmark against to make a profit margin.
So you also know that I think in this whole Pine Grove, people are asking, is there another upcoming? I don't think it'll be so soon. Pine Grove, the very, very old development, has tried to go through the en bloc, but it was the 5th time they are trying and they didn't manage to go through. So just because it's a very, very huge land and the risk appetite is on the higher side that developer would like to take.
1.95 billion is one of the highest you can ever find. If you really go through, wow, they have a lot of units to sell, and regardless of either big development, small development, they all have 5 years. So developer may not want to take these risks unless you can split into 3, which honestly, it was not as easy to do so in this area. All right.
What you'll note also is, besides that, GLS, 2 plots of GLS is coming up. There are also quite a few plots that's zone residential, but still subject to detailed planning. So you know that in the long-term run, this whole area is going to have more residential and more housing that's coming up also.
Yes, indeed. And for all these areas, we must understand it's very long-term. So if you're exiting in a short 3 years, 3 years kind of flip, then the strategy is a little different to select the right unit type in this development.
Yeah. So in terms of amenities, right now there is not much around. One good thing is that Dover MRT, they are planning to have like a commercial node. Means there is greater convenience for the Ulu Pandan residents also. But again, it's not going to be in the short term. It's going to be on a longer term plan. And Dover MRT is also not very near. You cannot walk. So, but it's at least one extra plus point that's coming up lah.
Yep. Okay. So with this, we come to the end of this video. And one thing to take note is that besides looking at this development as a whole, every unit that is in this development have a specific price that we should enter, intrinsic value. So it's important to understand not all units within the development can be bought. Not all unit layout type can also be bought. So from there, the key is to do an analysis where it's more unit specific rather than development specific. So if Nava Grove were to launch 10% above break even, that's what I mentioned in the slide just now, and it has a 2.4 to 2.5 per square feet. Okay, in this market, is it a buy or a avoid? Okay, ready? Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1, wait.
Buy.
Okay, so why buy?
Okay, I think if they were to launch at that pricing, from overall comparison to RCR prices, I think they are pretty attractive because they are after area harmonization. So if you were to prorate that down, it means that they are launching about 2003, thereabout. The next thing I want to note is that even though it's not near MRT and they maybe don't have the Henry Park School, we've seen that Normanton Park, as long as your pricing is right, even though they don't have the best connectivity, I think there'll be a group of buyers that would still like the low density area. And more importantly is that this whole area, I don't have any new supply. My biggest competition would maybe be Pine Tree Hill. And based on the quantum that they're launching, they're pretty fair. And if you to compare to all the resale in these areas, right, you'll realize that people are willing to pay the quantum for like the older, yes, bigger units, but you're also realizing a lot of like younger couples who would very much prefer something brand new. As long as your layout is effective, as long as I have like, my 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, they would prefer like the newer ones also lah. So I would say there's a whole group of buyers that will look into this kind of properties.
Yep. So for me, why wait is because unit type is very important and it's specific to that unit. So if the prices, maybe they see that, wow, Pine Tree here is going well, things are crazy, they decide to launch at even 2.5 at 2.6 later on, the price gap is a huge range that we're looking for.
Yep.
When you hit a high price and the layout and the types are not so great when it comes to a price staging, that's when it gets a little iffy when it comes to exiting at the right price.
Yeah.
But the key thing is always to select the right unit type rather than just jumping in and say, wow, this is the best event you can buy immediately, even at 2.5, because at the end of the day, the exit strategy for the unit type and the layout type and every single unit, the pricing is actually different.
Correct.
So that's something we have to do an intrinsic value calculation for that unit to determine whether it's worth considering. And we don't have launch price yet. So today we are just trying to understand and see what exactly is the proposed launch price.
Even if you have the launch price, right, indicative is also not the best indication because
Correct.
like Norwood Grand, right, they say the 3-bedder was starting from 1.698. So that was the
Correct.
first floor. And then the second floor, they jumped like 70K next.
Yes.
Yeah, so when people saw it, it was like a bit of a clickbait.
Yes, correct. So we just have to analyze according to the unit type rather than just the development.
Okay, so we've come to the end of this video, and if you want to find out more about this development on how we go through the whole entire unit selection, feel free to also scan the QR code over here and we'll have someone reach out to you.
So it is to come to the end of this video. My name is Christian.
This is Grace, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.